Hey, what's up, guys? Um, Welcome back to the second part of the Star Trek marathon, the first Star Trek marathon. Um, so I'm going to be doing two respective marathons. The first one's going to be about all of the original series films, including the second one, which is Generations. And then the next week, I'm going to be doing the Generation movies, the three reboots, and then the little special extra review at the end. Um, So we went from a pretty average film with Star Trek the Motion Picture to what is widely regarded as the best Star Trek film ever made. And I think we can all agree it's Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan. It literally has everything that we wanted from a movie, like a film of Star Trek. It takes plot beats from the original series and expands on them. It has, all of the original characters that we loved from the original series, and it just has everything that you need. Um, really quickly before I get on to the review, um, if you guys have followed me on Instagram, you guys would have seen yesterday that I did get the blue hair. It's more of like a turquoise, but I really like it. So this is the new hair for me. You can kind of see it more there. Um, so yeah, this is my new hair now. Um, and this is another Star Trek shirt, cause I'm gonna wait on wearing this uniform again, cause man, when you put on the arms, this thing is super itchy. Um, like I don't know what they put inside here, but whatever it is, like it gets your wrist like really good, and like it's like you have to wear a long sleeve shirt when you a long sleeve shirt. Sound like I just spoke a whole bunch of gibberish. Um, it literally feels like you have to wear a long sleeve shirt when you wear that. So I won't be wearing that again until the reboots, because this is actually from, I believe, the 2009 Star Trek film or Into Darkness. I don't know which one. But yeah, this is a classic TOS shirt. I have two more that I'm gonna be wearing over the next. I will live long and prosper shirt, and I have a blue TNG kind of uniform shirt, which I will be wearing obviously for the TNG reviews. Um, so anyway, guys, like I think it's already well known that I'm a Star Trek fan. Like if you guys can't see all the stuff behind me, which actually this ornament would be perfect for these first three right now, because this is the original Enterprise. Just the refit. So I actually don't. I guess there. I have it on standby right here. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to tilt it over, but I did kind of hang this up a bit. Uh, you're probably not gonna be able to see it. Um, but yeah. So, actually, I'm just gonna have it. Hey, there we go. Um, so yeah, this is considered to be the best of the franchise, or well, the films anyway, and I personally have to agree. This is the perfect Star Trek film. But anyways, I'll talk about my opinions later. But for now, let's get on to the plot, and the details of the film. Um, so this was released on June 4th of 1982, directed by Nicholas Meyer, which he would actually return later for, I believe, the script for Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, and he would go on to direct Star Trek 6, which is the second best of the original series. Um, so yeah. So this had a budget of $11.2 million. I've seen different reports on the budget. Some say it was just around 11 million. Others say it was 11.2. Others say 11.4 million. All all around, it was around $11 million. And domestically, it made $78 million, and worldwide, it made $97 million. Granted, it wasn't as big as Star Trek: The Motion Picture, but it was more successful, especially with the lower budget. Um, so yeah. So anyways, let's get on to the plot. So as Admiral James D. Kirk, again played by William Shatner, and Captain Spock, played by Leonard Nimoy, monitor trainees at Starfleet Academy, another vessel from the United Federation of Planets is about to try out the planet creating Genesis device, which will be a recurring thing with the next two films. Um, in a seemingly deserted portion of space. In the process, two of Starfleet's officers are captured by Khan Noonien Singh, played by Ricardo Montalban, an enemy Kirk thought he'd never see again. Once more, Kirk takes the Enterprise's helm, where he meets Khan's ship in an intergalactic showdown. So like I said, this is the best out of the original series films. Um, and mostly everyone agrees. Um, so, um, this is gonna be the first one where I'm not gonna be talking about all the original cast because they all do their best performances. Uh, as of I believe, well, all the films. This is probably the best performance they ever did. Especially with the fact that this film uh, uh, has the themes of like age and like growing older, because Kirk is an admiral now and not a captain, so that means he's working at a silly office desk basically, and not commanding a starship, which he's best at. Um, and he just feels like he was glad when he got the promotion, but he just doesn't uh, he doesn't really like it that much. Oh, and they almost just fell. Um, and there goes the Enterprise. Um, okay. Um, and I think it plays those themes very well, especially with Khan coming back and talking about how he faced a no-win scenario, which I will be talking about how that relates to the ending later. Um, um, and especially with the fact that this film is the introduction of the Genesis device, which basically creates new life. It kind of has the themes of old versus new. Um, um, and I think it really handles that very well, and especially with the fact that Khan is back and he's trying to fight Kirk, like literally to the death at this point now, is very suspenseful, and you'll be cheering, and also, uh, maybe some of you have already known this, but if you don't, you'll be crying by the end, and I'll be explaining that later in the spoilers section of the film. But anyways, let's talk about the new cast members in this film. Obviously, we got Ricardo Montalban as Khan, where he played Khan in the original series episode Space Seed in season 1, I believe. Um, and like I feel like Star Trek, like the first Star Trek: The Motion Picture, is a very self-contained film. Like you literally could have put that basically anywhere between like 2 through like 4, and it really didn't really matter. Granted, it does. You if you do want to watch it, you probably should watch it at the beginning, but you can literally kind of put that anywhere in between. Um, but this film, like you have to watch it first, especially with the whole trilogy, with starting off with two, and then going on with like 3 and 4, which I'll get to later. Um, but um, it was I'm already starting to forget. Um, uh, you know, but uh, well, just Ricardo Montalban um is a very good actor, and like I think he pulled it off well. I think the only thing that, well, actually, I'm kind of glad that they didn't have any flashbacks because the production between Spacey, like the original series, and this film is very, very, um, very different. Where like as the original series, it's more like really bright kind of colors. Like there's gray, but there's also like reds and blues and greens. But in this film, it's more like, as you can tell by the uniforms, which unfortunately, I don't have any of them, but I will. I really wish I would like to have one of these uniforms that they introduced in this film, which is the red military uniforms, which I think are the best uniforms that Star Trek has ever introduced. I mean, I'm gonna love still the TOS kind of like the blue the command and science and whatever, and then the black pants. But this film, I think they really succeeded with the uniforms, and it will kind of lead towards what they had in Star Trek: The Next Generation. Um, Kirstie Alley as Saavik. I really think she did pull it off in this film. Even though she's probably one of the weaker new cast members, I think she did pull off because she's trying to play a Vulcan, and Vulcans are very unemotional, so it's really kind of hard to kind of do that sort of thing. And I guess if you want an extra fun fact, because I do have one coming up later, is that Saavik was supposed to be part Vulcan, part Romulan, but it was changed to just being a full Vulcan. But I believe in the novelization of the film, it does mention that Saavik is like half Vulcan, half Romulan. BB Besh as Carol Marcus, also known as the ex-wife of Admiral Kirk. Um, she does a very good performance. It's sad that this is the only film that she appears in. Unlike their son, David Marcus, played by Mary Buttrick, he does a return in Star Trek 3, which I will talk about when we next video. And he actually has my favorite scene in the film, well, kind of, but I'll talk about that later. Um, but yeah, in this film, he really kind of pulls off the emotions very well, about how he thinks that. Well, at first he thinks that Kirk was the one who ordered the Reliant to uh, go to Space Lab Regular One and ask for the Genesis device. Um, but over time of the film and the next film, he does really evolve into a more fleshed out character, and I'm really sad with what happened to the character himself, which again I'll talk about later. Paul Winfield as Captain Clark Taro. Um, Paul was cast because I think he was in like a film, like the student film festivals were really enjoying, and so he was cast as Clark Terrell. He is the captain of the Reliant, who unfortunately, with Pavel Chekhov, is captured by Khan and is used to bring the Reliant to Space Lab Regular One to try and get the Genesis device. Um, and unfortunately, I guess right now, I'll pull up these spoilers banner. Well, not really banner, but spoilers. Um, when Clark and Chekhov have the rest of the crew, the Enterprise and Space Lab Regular One crew cornered with phasers. Khan, because he puts these creatures in their ears, which makes him control them. Um, but they start kind of resisting, and Clark is able to resist enough to unfortunately shoot himself with with his phaser and vaporize himself to stop what Khan is doing, and hopefully not have the Genesis device um, under his control, which it basically happens within the span of like 3 or 4 minutes after he dies, which is very unfortunate. Um, and it's very funny that both William Shatner and Paul Winfield went to go work together on a TV movie called Nightmare on 37,000 Feet, which is very, very entertaining to watch because it's so bad. It's obviously made for TV. Um, but if you want to learn more about that, you could probably look up videos about that. And Ike Ezimen, I'm very sorry if I butchered that, plays Peter Preston, who is also the nephew of Scotty, who is a trainee on the USS Enterprise. And unfortunately, when Khan attacks for the first time, he is unfortunately wounded and he does die in sickbay. But he does ask Kirk what the final order was, and Kirk says warp speed, and then he passes away. It's one of the more emotional scenes in the film, and it is extended in the director's cut, which I will talk about later. Um, well, actually, I might as well talk about it now. So, I'll just move you out of the way really quickly. So, Star Trek 2 has obviously had multiple releases. It also came out in like 2009, 2008 with this sort of standard Starfleet insignia with, because the color for Star Trek 2 is orange, and obviously with the characters right here and a scene from the film. I don't think that edition came with the director's cut, which is why I believe, in 2016, to commemorate the 50th anniversary for Star Trek, they released Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan Director's Cut on Blu-ray. Now, this is the one of the first editions that came out. Um, I believe I did a video about this. You could tell that's my first copy because right here, right by Spock's nose, you can kind of see that it ripped a bit, and that was, I believe, I was trying to take this. I believe I was trying to take a sticker off, and I don't know, it did unfortunately rip up his nose a bit. Man, it seems like there's a little bit of gunk on here. Um, well, it doesn't really matter anyway. So there's the front, spine, other spine, and the back, and you can tell it's the first edition because it has the white QR code. QR code, which means it's the kind of butchered version. Um, and there's a more clear version of it. So if you guys did not hear about it, I bet you could probably try and look it up on like Google or something. But with the first editions that came out, there is a scene, I believe I was in the director's cut or in the theatrical version, but there was in one of the versions there was unfortunately a mistake where they replaced a shot of Saavik from a shot from earlier in the film, and a lot of people complained about that. So, about a couple years, they asked, they took these off the shelf, and here, they took them off the shelves, and they put up a thing on their website where you can send in your copy of Star Trek 2, the director's cut, which had the white tag, for them to replace it and give you one with a yellow tag. Um, and so I didn't watch it at first. But then I obviously later when I was at a Best Buy, I found this, which is actually the corrected version with the yellow tag. I'm not gonna take it out because you guys have already seen it. It's the exact same, but just with a yellow tag and with the correct version of the film. Um, and the only reason why I'm keeping this around is to show what not to do with Blu-rays, because it was a mistake. Like you can't really argue with them about a mistake. And um, so yeah. Um, so really quickly before I talk about the composer, the fun fact, and my rating, I want to talk about the visual effects because I didn't really mention them in the first film because of the time. Um, but especially so with this film, they obviously had a tighter budget with only $11 million. So they really had to they if you could tell in this film they used some shots of the Enterprise and space dock from the first film, and it's kind of obvious, but everything else in the film is completely new, and I think it's even though it's not as good as the first one, and I'm still standing by that the first film had the best special effects of all the films. Um, this one, um, this one did a very good job at trying to at not making it look fake, but making it look real with a tight budget, and I really appreciate that. And one of the visual effects I actually have a fun fact about. So, did you know that Star Trek to the Wrath of Khan was the first film to have a fully CGI rendered sequence? Yes, so when in the scene where Kirk, Spock, and Bones are talking about the Genesis device and what it could do, Kirk pulls up the the report that uh, Carol Marcus did about the Genesis device, and it shows the actual sequence of the device shooting onto a planet and erasing all the life on it and then forming it into new life. And that was made with the CGI company at ILM. And I think it's really funny that the company that did the sequence was sold to Apple, and that company eventually went on to become the one and only Pixar, which made the obviously the Pixar films from like 1995 to present day. Um, and really quickly, I want to talk about the score. This was composed by James Horner. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any other Star Trek scores besides the first film, but I did order Star Trek 2 and 3 from Entrada Records, and they should be coming at some point, which is the new expanded editions from like 2009, and I will be getting them at some point, and I will be making videos about them. But I think James Horner, besides Jerry Goldsmith, have had well, actually, all the original series scores were great, but this is one of the better of the scores. It was more around Star Trek, like Generations and First Contact, where it took a kind of down of a quality. Um, but yeah. So like I said, this is my favorite Star Trek film of all time. I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10. It's the perfect Star Trek film. If you want to get into Star Trek and you want to see one of the films, I say go with two and then go on from there. If you want to watch the first film, go right ahead. But if you want to get into the franchise, I say start with two and then go on from there, and you can hopefully come back around and watch the first one. So yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this film review in this video. Stay tuned tomorrow where I'm going to be talking about Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock, released in 1984. Um, so yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and Sulu, engage.